Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. We're continuing on with the BRRRR method, and this week we're diving into the rehab. Now stay tuned to the end because I'm going to give you some awesome advice on how to not lose a lot of money, and this was my own mistake. Hi guys, Erica Parker here, your queen of real estate with Real. Thank you for joining me. Now the first thing that you want to determine is the level of rehab that you're doing on this property. The first thing is it cosmetic? Is it cosmetic with upgrades, or is it a full rehab? And so cosmetic, we discussed in a previous video, it has to do with carpet and maybe fixing a door hardware or painting. That has to do with cosmetic. Now the next one is cosmetic with upgrades. So that's like redoing a whole countertop to granite, or that's moving around some of the cabinetry or something like that. And sometimes it can do with a little bit of plumbing work, but not a lot. Now the final one is a full rehab. I include any electrical, any HVAC, any roof, any plumbing, any major moves of all of that is going to be a major rehab. So identifying that, but you also want to identify what is a rent-ready rehab and what is a sell-ready rehab. Because if you are doing this in a BRRRR method, you're looking to rent it out. You're not looking to get top dollar for this property. You're looking to rent it out, and rental properties tend to take a little bit more of a beating. So you don't necessarily want to go as nice on the finishes. So what you want to do is determine what the comps are in the area for the rentals, and also what your anticipated rent rate is, because there may be comps in the area that rent for $5,000 and there may be comps that rent for $2,000. Well, your rehab, if you want to get $5,000, you may end up having to knock out walls and everything, and you may not want to do that. But to get $2,000 may just be a cosmetic rehab. Now, the second thing that you want to do is estimate your repairs and develop your scope of work. On estimating repairs, I get this question a lot, that a lot of people don't know how to estimate repairs. Now, there are some programs out there that have spreadsheets that have the nationwide averages, and it's very easy to just plug in numbers to then how many new countertops you need, or how many linear feet you need of something, and it will just calculate it all for you. That is one way to go, but it does cost money to invest in those programs. A second option is to find a contractor that you really like, that you've heard great things about, or that you've used in the past, and have them walk properties with you and give you some general estimates on what things cost. So if it costs to put carpet in a rent-ready situation, you may not be as nice of carpet. So you're looking at somewhere between $1.50 to $2.50 on your carpet in the pad. And the final one is to partner with other investors that are out there doing this, that are doing fix and flips, that are doing buy and holds, and that are often doing rehabs, so that they can provide the experience that you may be lacking in estimating the rehab costs and doing all these following items that I'm going to mention. You want to develop your scope of work, and you want to be as detailed as possible in order to stay within your budget. So you want to let the contractor know exactly what you want. If you can go as far as to finding the SKU numbers on the Home Depot item you want, or the Lowe's item you want, or the Floor and Decor item you want, or whatever it is, then you want to provide that. And actually, even I would recommend linking the particular item in the scope of work. Anything, like I said, you can't source, they're probably going to add a sourcing fee to that, or a percentage, likely 15% fee on top of what it normally costs them, so that they can get paid for the time that they spent identifying what to put into your property. So once you've developed your scope of work, you need to find contractors. And some of the places I recommend finding contractors are word of mouth from other investors. I also recommend realtors. They usually have contractors on speed dial. And I also recommend Google for Google reviews. So find the Google business profile and find contractors that way. And then Home Depot or Lowe's, their pro desks tend to know certain contractors in the area and can recommend some people. Or you can go there at super early in the morning and start just introducing yourself to people that are there looking for supplies and hanging out by the pro desk to see if you can get some cards. The next one is the interview process of the contractors, and this is asking questions, making sure you know that you're hiring a legitimate contractor. And here in Texas, we don't necessarily have to have licenses to be a contractor, but if you're in another state, make sure that you know whether they need to be licensed or not, and if they do, ask for their license. The second thing is knowing if they have insurance. I recommend having at least $1 million umbrella policy that the contractor has, and they can add you as an additional insured. The next item is the rules that you're going to have. Make sure that they know what you expect of them. So if you have certain rules, I would make that part of your contract. So if this is your attorney that's drafting this, or if this is you drafting it, make sure that you have your rules as part of your contract. And that means if you want them to pick up every day all the trash, which I recommend because you don't want to get dinged by the HOA, you want to ask them to always keep the site clean and pick up the trash. And if you find out that they haven't, then you can ding them a certain amount of money. And then the second one, whether you're going to allow smoking or drinking on the job, I doubt you want to, so put it in the contract. Make sure that you're very specific on that. The third thing I would recommend is they tend to have contracts. And I particularly have my own contract, and a lot of contractors have their own contract and they don't necessarily want to sign mine. So what I usually say is, okay, I'll sign yours and you sign mine. And you can show mine to your attorney, I'll show yours to my attorney, but I want to have certain things that are in my contract covered. And so that's where I would get their contract and I would send it to my attorney and ask them to review it. I do recommend hiring an attorney to anyone out there. So have them review it, find out what they feel comfortable or what they think might need to be changed, or if your contract covers it, ask them, how do we determine what rules? And just ask your attorney some of these questions. Ask them what deposit they anticipate asking for, because sometimes they do need some money to go and buy materials. So I don't like any contractor that's going to ask for probably more than a 10% deposit. So if it's a $40,000 rehab, I'm not paying more than $4,000 for them to start. And a lot of times I won't pay any deposit because I'll go and I'll order the things from Home Depot or Lowe's on my own credit card and have them go pick it up. So then they don't need that deposit to start. So that's something you need to understand. Also, if they have staff, so are they subcontracting this out? Or do they actually have staff, or are they a licensed electrician, plumber, roofer, or HVAC person? So all of those are people that need to be licensed. If they have someone that's on their payroll or if they subcontract that out. The next thing you want to do is understand their financial stability. So are they okay with waiting for a draw from your hard money lender? Or are you going to have to bridge that gap and request the reimbursement from the hard money lender? So you need to understand their financial stability and if they need deposits to even hire people to get them out there to start the job. So you want to make sure that you understand full well how experienced and how financially stable this particular contractor is, because there are some bad contractors out there that rob Peter to pay Paul, and you want to make sure that you don't end up with one of those. Have you had problems with contractors, robbing Peter to pay Paul or asking for a really big deposit? If so, drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear. So once you finish that interview process, you actually want to hire that contractor and develop a pay schedule. And sometimes that hard money lender has a certain draw schedule that you'll have to go off of, or you can develop your own pay schedule. And that's gonna say every Friday I pay you, or maybe it's every phase of getting a certain part of the rehab done is gonna be part of it. Now the last tip that I mentioned that I absolutely want to make sure you do not allow is allowing the contractor to stay in the house to get the job done. Now, it sounds like a great idea. Hey, they're there throughout the night. They can get more work done at night. But here's the thing. Most of the time, they get burnt out and then they sit and they don't do as much. And if you're not requiring them to pay rent and they're living there, then they're not as motivated to get the job done quickly. So you want to make sure that you don't let them live there. I had a mistake where we let the contractor live at the house that we were redoing because he didn't have gas. He didn't have money for the gas in his car to come all the way to the property that we were doing because it was really far south. And so these are all lessons I've learned. When I say make sure they're financially stable, make sure they're financially stable. When I say that, hey, don't let them live in the place, don't let them live in the place. I learned my lesson. We had to fire the guy right before Christmas. We hated it, but we did it because he was over 2 months late on what he had promised us. So with that and the lesson I learned of not letting them live in the property, I also recommend that you employ a penalty if they don't finish on time. You have to agree to this, obviously, but most of the contractors are going to build in non-productive time into their quote. So you can employ a $100 penalty for each day after the agreed upon completion time that they get docked from their final paycheck. Or if they finish beforehand, maybe you employ a bonus to them. Well, I hope you found this information helpful. If so, give it a big thumbs up so others will see it, and go ahead and click that subscribe button so that you'll know when I drop another video. Thanks for joining me. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.